Live from our Seven Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, the clean-up continues as Tasmanians recover from the destructive storm which battered the state over the weekend. Many are still in the dark as Tas Networks toils to reconnect power across the state.
Destructive winds and wild weather have wreaked havoc across the state, leaving thousands without power.
We had winds about 150 k's an hour. They're sort of picking the table up behind us and blew the roof off the house and blew the two chimneys down. And then the power went out and left us in the dark.
It's been a terrible 2 days for the Green family based in the Northern Midlands, with their tin roof taking flight, ending up 500 metres down their property and the clean-up impacting their farming operations.
It's made things challenging. It's getting the roof repairs back on the house, everything up to charging batteries to, flat phones, organising things, electric fences down, cattle out, no water in the house. Can't use the toilet.
There's no point buying food yet because the power's still not on, so we've just, it's freezing inside at the moment. It's just been a very long weekend.
Trees leaving trails of destruction which will take months to clean up. But Tas Networks are working to get power up and running again.
On Saturday night, Sunday morning, we were hit by quite a significant weather event which took out assets on a line from Burnie down towards Hobart. At its peak, we had over 100 different outages. We've managed to repair and reduce that number down to 46 outages.
Late yesterday, around 20,000 customers were without power across the state, marking the worst storm damage we've seen since 2014. As of this morning, nearly 3,000 are still waiting across the north and northwest. The organisation says it might take until Thursday to fully resolve the issues. In Meander Valley, dozens of dairy farmers waiting.
Saturday night was as rough as I've seen it. Our house is 100 years old and you could just feel the walls moving and it was terrible. Further out in that Montana Dairy Plains area, they've got dairy farms that have no power, so they're running generators to continue milking cows.
Weary residents waiting to be reconnected. MAKENNA BAILY, 7 Tasmania News.
Police are issuing a stern warning to hikers considering climbing Kununyi Mount Wellington. Comes after 9 people had to be rescued from the summit this long weekend, with search teams carrying out 3 missions in just 2 days. After a narrow miss with a double fatality, authorities are urging people not to risk the blizzard conditions unless genuinely experienced. A historically significant building, once an area school, has been gutted by fire. Crews were called to the 150-year-old property at Red Hills on Mole Creek Road near DARREN around 8:30 last night.
Our local brigade were called. They went to go one way and they couldn't get through because of trees down. They had to go a long way around.
The sole occupant of the house escaped without injury, although the damage bill is estimated at $500,000. The cause is still being determined. It was one of 5 structure fires across the state in 24 hours. And 22 Tasmanians have received public praise, with their names listed on this year's Queen's Birthday Honours list. Among them are some of the state's leading public service figures who have been commended for their response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
No amount of training, skill or knowledge could have prepared our state leaders for the pandemic panic.
I came to health in September 2019 and so luckily for me, some 3 months later, having a global pandemic. So I really did feel like I was right into the deep end.
But with courage and a fierce commitment to Tasmania's people, key figures from Tasmania's Health Department and Police Service put their heads down and led the state through a storm of uncertainty. The Department of Health's Catherine Morgan-Wicks and Police Commissioner Darren HINE awarded public service medals.
We had to react and we had to make decisions, and sometimes under very difficult circumstances.
In health, making decisions means a difference of life and death.
Dr. Mark VEITCH also came out the other side as a COVID hero.
It's actually quite easy to face each day knowing the importance of the work you do.
Their efforts now acknowledged in the 2022 Queen's Birthday Honours list. Police Inspector Jim Semmens was awarded an Australian Police Medal for his work during COVID.
I certainly never trained for an emergency management scenario that was so long-lasting and enduring.
Likewise, Commander Robert Blackwood.
It's an award for me today, but there's lots of other people that deserve to be awarded as well.
The humble recipients owing their tremendous feats to their colleagues.
I couldn't do the job myself without having a great team and working with other colleagues right across the state service.
And Tasmania's community.
Without the community being willing to work with us, without the community being willing to do what we asked them to do, we wouldn't have had the very positive result that we did have.
Of the 992 Australians recognised in this year's honours list, 22 are Tasmanian. 5 were appointed members of the Order of Australia and another 8 were commended for their contributions in the community. Nominations for the awards are open year-round, giving the recipients well-deserved recognition. BRIANNA, BOYLEN, 7 Tasmania News.
Acute mental health services in the north and northwest have reopened. Both the Spencer Clinic at the Northwest Regional Hospital and North Side at the Launceston General had closed due to COVID outbreaks. The shutdown has prompted calls for temporary services in the regions to be made available during closures, with patients needed to go to Hobart over the past week. There is a renewed sense of optimism among tourism operators as Duck MOFO draws in crowds. Hotels are also booking out at a record rate, proving Tasmania is the place to be this winter.
It's the coldest time of year, but Tasmania's hottest festival has returned to resurrect the tourism sector.
We definitely feel back. We're very excited to see lots of locals and interstate visitors in the streets and filling up our cafes, restaurants and museums.
With 40,000 tickets sold so far, Duck MOFO is preparing for thousands more once the winter feast starts in 2 days' time.
It's about 65% of those tickets are interstate visitors, so we'll be welcoming a lot of interstate people here to the festival.
Injecting more than $21 million into the economy in the pre-COVID era, giving the state government bang for its buck.
Pre-Duck MOFO, I think people tended to hibernate, and what Duck MOFO does and what its intention is to get our locals and our visitors out of hibernation.
The latest visitor survey shows in the year to March, more than 744,000 tourists made their way to the Apple Isle, 87% via air and 13% by sea, upwards of $2.1 billion spent. Hotels are reaping the benefits of our strong visitor economy, with almost 82% of rooms filled across the state in April, giving a vote of confidence for the sector in the winter months ahead.
Yeah, I think the Tasmanian tourism industry has been performing extremely well since the borders reopened. It's really strong demand to travel to Tasmania, and we're even seeing that now in the traditional quiet season over winter.
And an added boost for hospitality venues after Check-in Tas became a thing of the past.
We're going to be getting back to a more normal hospitality experience, which is something that we've been craving.
An appetite shared by holidaymakers as tourism bounds back. AINSLEY, KOCH, 7 Tasmania News.
Football Tasmania has launched its annual event celebrating the role and opportunities women have in the world game. Female Football Week kicked off at today's statewide cup final. Tasmanian-born international referee Lauren Hargrave, a special guest at today's match. Officials are expecting a surge in girls playing the sport on the back of Australia hosting next year's Women's World Cup.
We saw that after the Women's World Cup in France, and we absolutely will expect that after a Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand.
I had the full support of Football Tasmania back then, and I really appreciate the opportunities that were given to me by those at Football Tasmania.
Tasmania has the highest female participation rate in the nation. A number of activities will be held this week to celebrate. Britain's best makes and models have gone on show in a special exhibition pulling together some of the rarest cars on earth. Fittingly, for the Queen's birthday, Her Majesty's favourite Rover was there, along with the only Austin of its kind in the state.
Firing up his passion, Peter Wriggle's Austin 3 litre is among the rarest British cars in the world.
Of the 6 in Australia, there's only 3 actually on the road, and there's only 60 left worldwide.
There's so few because the 3 litre was a commercial disaster. Less than 10,000 were made, and most of those ended up on the scrap heap.
Very popular for what the English call banger racing, which is basically stock car racing to us, because they're a really strong car, and they just wrecked them all.
But every car here on British Classics Day is treated far kinder. They're tributes to the triumph of UK manufacturing. The only sign of crankiness came at the front of the Morris Oxford. While many famous names litter the landscape, the biggest is also the smallest, Mini, the heavily modified to the family favourite enjoyed by generations.
The kids, with its green colour, they gave the nickname Kermit.
With its vintage radio
down there in Tasmania
and a markedly mini engine.
When you come to a hill, you just keep the accelerator down.
And does anything say British quite like a Rolls Royce? All I need now is my chauffeur. A luxury reserved for royalty. In fact, the Queen rated the Rover 3.5, just like this one, as her choice of car back in the 70s.
Probably not so much in Australia, but in the UK they've become quite collectible.
It's incredible what turns up. We've got an amazing variety of British cars here today.
All of them treated like kings and queens. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News. We'll turn the page now to the Cripps TSL Player of the Year votes after 12 rounds. Sam Siggins' 100th game was one to remember. He leads the pack after Lauderdale's win over North Hobart. Fletcher Seymour is back in the hunt, best on ground for Launceston in the game against Clarence. And Kieran Lovell claimed 3 votes for Kingborough against Glenorchy. Siggins and Joby Harper are tied on top with 14 votes apiece. Eddie Cole, Colin Garland and Brodie Powfriman are also in the running. The North West Football League has set up a showdown with the SFL after demolishing the NTFA in the women's representative match by 42 points. Penguin Shania Saywood bagged 3 goals for the North West in a 53-11 win at Invermay Park. April Crooks booted the only goal for the NTFA, which lost stars Abby Green and Deanne Taylor pre-game. The NWFL will take on the South in the series decider in East Devonport on Saturday. To local soccer now, and both the statewide and Lacko Seljack Cups are heading up the Midland Highway tonight. In the men's, Devonport booked a spot in the Australia Cup after proving too strong for South Hobart, while Launceston United defeated Kingborough to end a significant trophy drought.
Cup glory and a spot in the Australia Cup were on the line for Devonport and South Hobart. Everyone putting their body on the line, including the referee.
Falcon of Brenton Copra, and he is definitely feeling that one, Copra.
South Hobart's best chance of the half coming through Iski Van Dorn. But Devonport took control as the match wore on, almost breaking the deadlock twice in a minute. Their persistence finally rewarded just before half-time.
It's a lovely ball towards Ali Doa. It's not from, it's the first goal of the game. Ali Doa, lovely through ball.
Josh Devon came within inches of levelling the game, Keegan Smith making a super save. Devonport's lead doubled just after the hour mark. Another slick pass finding the feet of Fernandez Garrido, who coolly slotted home. The win secured minutes later after Dulla was brought down in the box. Garrido sneaking home his second of the day.
It's Fernandez Garrido. Oh, just into the bottom corner. He didn't hit that with too much power.
The strikers going back-to-back, also setting up yet another date on the national stage. In the women's, it took Launceston United just 5 minutes to open their account against the Kingborough Lions. United dominating the first half with chances galore. They finally got their reward through Laura Dickinson.
Oh, it's Dickinson with the shot and into the back of the net for number 2 for Launceston United. 2 for Laura Dickinson.
But the Lions continued fighting and gave themselves a slice of hope.
It goes near post. This one will fall to Canadaza. 2-1 and the game is still on here.
The comeback, however, was stopped minutes later. Ellie Lamont sealing a famous 3-1 win. The result sparking emotional scenes as the team created a piece of history.
1967 is a long time ago. We're delighted to now put a new date on that trophy list, so it's very, very special.
John Hunt. 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians have helped brush aside India in the Under-16 Asian Championship. Devonport's Kai Savage landed 17 points for the Crocodiles in the 95-47 thumping. Burnie's Jacob Furphy had 8 points. The Aussies are up against the host country Qatar in the next game. A fiery start to the motocross GP in Germany. The Northwest Coast Jed Beaton managed to gain 3 positions from his qualifying spot to finish 14th in both races. He's sitting 17th out of 29 riders overall, despite missing 3 rounds of the series through injury. Launceston's Jake Birtwistle will compete at his second Commonwealth Games after being picked for our triathlon team heading to Birmingham. The 27-year-old won gold in the mixed relay on the Gold Coast in 2018 and silver in the solo event.
Good evening. Another cool day across the state today. 13 the top for Hobart, Launceston and Burnie. 12 on Flinders Island, Strawn 11 and 3 degrees in Liawini. The satellite pictures show southwesterly winds pushing cloud over western parts of the state and clear skies elsewhere, while snow is visible about Ben Lomond and the Central Plateau. Low cloud blankets large parts of the southeastern states, including western Tasmania, while there is cloud spiralling around a low just south of WA, extending over southwestern WA. Tomorrow's chart shows a low moving over the Bight and a number of troughs over South Australia, and the rest of Australia lies under a weak ridge of high pressure. Westerly winds of 10 to 20 knots, reaching 25 knots about the south during the morning, and northerly winds of 20 to 30 knots in the northwest later in the evening. A strong wind warning is in place for the far northwest coast and the southeast coast. And there's a road weather alert for parts of the state, including the northeast coast and upper Derwent Valley forecast districts. Partly cloudy in Hobart tomorrow, Adventure Bay 11 and cloudy in Tarraleah. Morning frost and a shower or 2 in Launceston, Devonport 12 and morning frost and showers developing in Bridport. Burnie 13, a shower or 2 in Strawn and showers increasing in Marrawar. Becoming cloudy in St Helens, Swansea 13 and cloudy in Whitemark. Showers about the north of the state on Wednesday, extending to most districts during the morning. Thursday, showers more frequent about the north, easing during the afternoon. And light showers about the west, south and northeast at times on Friday, fine elsewhere apart from patchy morning fog. A possible shower in Brisbane tomorrow, Melbourne 14, showers increasing in Adelaide and 32 in Broome. And right now in Hobart, it's mostly clear and 6, Launceston clear and 3, and Devonport mostly clear and 6, and Kim, there's still a few more cold mornings to come.
It looks like it. Leave that blanket on. Thanks very much, Victoria. And that is all your news for this long weekend Monday. We'll have news breaks throughout the evening, but for now, it's good night.